interesting to me because of the research I've done over the years. And it's from Ireland, and the headline is, Irish researchers find evidence of a 5,000-year-old incestuous, quote, ruling social elite. DNA from ancient tomb suggests social class, quote, akin to similarly inbred Inca god kings and Egyptian pharaohs. And the story goes on. Irish researchers have learned that a man who lived more than 5,000 years ago was born from incest, suggesting he was among a ruling social elite akin to similarly inbred Inca god kings and Egyptian pharaohs. Laura Cassidy, a postdoctoral student in ancient genomics at Trinity College, Dublin, has been studying DNA from a man whose remains were excavated in the 1960s from New Grange, a monolithic Stone Age passage tomb in Ireland. I've been there a number of times. Very interesting place. When her team finally sequenced the genome, she says the results were quite shocking. We inherit two copies of the genome, one from our mother and one from our father, and this man's copies were remarkably similar, really long stretches of identical sequences, Cassidy said. That's sort of the telltale signal of very close inbreeding. You can actually estimate and confirm it was first-degree relatives who were his parents, so either a brother and sister or a parent and child. And this form of first-degree incest has historically only been deemed socially acceptable among ruling classes, such as the Egyptian pharaohs, Cassidy said. A lot of work has been done in anthropology looking at first-degree incest because it's so rare that it's socially accepted, she said. It's a universal taboo for biological and cultural reasons. Members of aristocracies engaged in this type of taboo behavior because it helped to keep their kin or clan in power. Breaking taboos also has a shock value, and allowing for the ruling classes to separate themselves from the general population through a we can do this, you can't mentality, Cassidy said. When you look at all the documented cases we have of this behavior, and the elite or leader are typical polygamists. They take many wives and wives that are more closely related and have more privileges. When that is pushed to the absolute extreme, what you get is sibling marriage. Now, why this is interesting to me is that I've been writing for decades about the fact that we have a network today that incessantly interbreeds, and we call these the elite. And you see this most obviously in royal families through the centuries, this incessant interbreeding to, quote, keep their genes up. And then when the royal families, most of them anyway, were replaced by another form of control, by the same cult network, but taking a different form, because there came a time in most countries when the people started to reject overt control dictatorship by royal bloodline. So these bloodline families that called themselves royal and aristocratic then went, if you like, underground into the dark suit professions, but they still continued this interbreeding. They still do today. This is why you see, like, what they call the Eastern Establishment families of the United States interbreeding. And it's not often to do with even attraction, it's to do with genetics. So you look at the explanation from a mainstream anthropological academic perspective, and you get this, which is, there's a lot of truth in it, about this interbreeding ruling elite and why they did it. But there's another way of looking at this, and it's something I've gone into in the books, and that is that we are looking at a particular genetic structure among this elite, which you could describe as hybrid. They are part human and part something else, and they have this dual genetics. Actually, what it really is a dual electromagnetic information field from which the body is an expression, a projection. So if you're going to hold that that unique hybrid nature, then you have to interbreed with the same hybrid nature, because if you interbreed with the general population, then that, what I would call software program, that those information fields are going to be diluted by the interaction, the interconnection from interbreeding outside of that particular information field, if you like. And so to hold that, they interbreed with each other, and always have, going way back. The pharaohs and the Incas, all these ancient elite hierarchies in different cultures have done this, and they're holding a particular genetic form, which I would say is akin to a software program. If you just keep replicating a software program, you keep replicating basically the same program. But if you mix that program with other programs, then you get something else. And the original program is not how it started out. This is what I'm talking about. And this ruling elite that drives the direction of human society from the shadows is an interbreeding elite. I mean, this goes back in my books to the mid-1990s. So I found this very interesting because, when you see mainstream research coming from a mainstream angle, you can see how they're actually confirming things that you said, but they're explaining it in a different way, sometimes a slightly different way, and often in a very different way. And it doesn't mean that on one level what they're saying is not correct. It means they've only got part of the picture, I would suggest. And so we have this interbreeding elite that's continuing today and goes back thousands of years. And what this elite has been doing as it's moved through generations is incessantly centralizing power. So at one time you had this interbreeding elite ruling a tribe or a culture, and then as these different tribes became nations, this elite started ruling nations, and then as nations fused together in what is called globalization, this interbreeding elite started to gain world domination to the point where they are now, in terms of driving policies like the lockdowns that affect billions of people. In fact, in directly or indirectly, they've affected everyone on the planet. And this has been a long-term process of this interbreeding network continually centralizing power until they've got it on a global level. And now they're running for home with current events and where they want to take the world. So I did find that story very, very interesting, and it kind of fits with what I've been saying over the years, that this elite, this interbreeding elite, is not something that's a modern phenomenon. Not at all. Goes back a very long time because this human society was hijacked by an external force a very long time ago. But it's had to manipulate humanity, for reasons I explain in the books, to construct its own prison. So what's been happening is that humanity has been manipulated, developed to be clever enough to build its own prison, but not wise enough to see that that's what it's doing. And the prison I'm talking about is this smart grid, this smart network that's designed to control everything through artificial intelligence and to be connected to the human brain. So humans become clever enough to build that and instigate that, but not wise enough to realize the consequences of it. I'm not talking about everybody, of course. I'm talking about people in general. And so this has been a very long-term hijacking, step by step by step, of human society. And if you look back through the generations, what is happening today is just a more globally advanced version of what's always happened through known human history. And that is the mass of the people, whether it's in a tribe, whether it's in a country, whether it's in a world, has constantly handed it power over not only its life, but its perceptions, which become its life, to a tiny elite. The chief, the queen, the king, the World Health Organization, and it just takes different forms, but it's the same. It's the same process, the same sequence, same responses that lock down and put under house arrest billions of people. They're the same responses.